had a dairy wagon, and they went and delivered milk, picked up milk.
The East Indian was a dairy guy?
Yeah,
And let Grandpa and his brothers live with them.
yeah.
How old was Grandpa then? Do you know?
Well, I think he was like 15 when they got to Spokane.
Okay.
And his brother said, "This is too cold, I'm going to California." He went to California.
And he was younger than Grandpa
He was
Gigi?
Just a little, I think he was just a couple years younger.
Mm-hmm.
He was architect for grass. What is it?
I can't understand you. He was what?
Oh, he had
Had his own business.
yeah, he got to California and he was doing yards. And he got working for a gardener that took care of movie stars and places. And that guy had a heart attack, and my grandpa's brother took the business over. And he owned that business for years and years and years.
Huh. But then Grandpa Gigi ended up in Spokane and stayed there.
He stayed in Spokane. Now Grandpa taught us about, he was walking down the sidewalk. Now understand, Grandpa knew French, but very little English. And there was a guy up on a ladder hanging a sign or changing a sign. And it looked like the ladder was going to fall on my grandpa grabbed. And the guy came down and thanked him for it, asking if he knew anything about tires. So he says, "I don't either, but I'm going in the tire business." He had a blacksmith shop. So Grandpa worked for him. And cars were just coming out. He read the newspaper after a couple of years that Harvey Firestone and Mr. Ford was going to be in Spokane interviewing for a new facility that they were building. And my grandpa thought, well, I don't think there's anybody that knows any more about tires than me. So he went and interviewed with Mr. Firestone.
How old was he, do you think? 18?
Yeah. Mr. Firestone hired him to be the manager of the new Firestone store that hadn't been built yet.
Very first one?
But he had to go to Akron and go through the school, and he had to learn all the phases of tire business. And he had to leave grammar. But he was there a year and a half, almost 2 years. When he got back to Spokane, there was a brand new store, and Grandpa was the first manager.
Wow. So at what point did Grandma join him after he ran away from Canada? Wasn't she from Canada also?
No,
She was from Spokane.
Yeah.
She was from the Spokane area.
Okay.
Then real life, wasn't it?
By medical.
And then when he, tell about the Henry Ford thing.
He'd like to tell the story about the day before he left. He had to go meet with Mr. Firestone. And he said in those days, the Firestone plant was really a bunch of buildings. And they were enclosing them and putting a roof over all of them. He went into Harvey Firestone's office, and the secretary knew Grandpa. Said, he's waiting for him. Grandpa said he walked in there, and he was sitting on the windowsill looking down the courtyard. And there was a guy down there with a jackhammer. He says, Frank, you know the difference between that guy running the jackhammer and you? Grandpa was almost embarrassed that he even compared. There's no way to say no. He looked at my grandpa and he says, "You use your head that much more." And he worked for Firestone for 30 years.
Wow.
And then,
When World War II came about, one of the guys that he had worked at Firestone with bought a General Tire dealership for Spokane. And he talked Grandpa into quitting Firestone and going to work for him. And they built this huge, it was by the war. The war, each rubber company had so many tires. The rest went to the war. There was a guy in Lewiston who bought General Tire dealership in Lewiston, and he was a drunk. And they were gonna take it away from him, and Grandpa heard about it, and he bought the General Tire dealership.
In Lewiston.
And he opened, half a dozen.
There's lots of pictures.
yeah, I've seen the pictures of the General Tire in Lewiston. Yeah, yeah. Pete's got them. Yeah.
So I missed the part where how did he end up in the orphanage? His parents gave him up, or they died, or what happened to his parents?
His dad took off.
Okay.
His dad was a drunk.
Well, I think he ended up a drunk, but he was a bricklayer, and they were in big demand back then. His mother was kind of floozy, and she left the kids at the orphanage, and she took off. And he never saw her again.
Did he ever find his dad in Spokane?
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did. He found his dad.
Huh.
His brother came up to California, from California, to stay with them.
Take your mask off, Mom. I can't understand you with your mask
I
on.
lived on Swallows, yes. Grandpa's brother came. He'd had a heart attack and he wasn't real good health. And he said to my grandpa, he says, I got a lot of money. I don't know what to do with it. Grandpa says, well, I've got a man that invests mine. We'll get with him. So we arranged a meeting. Grandpa and his brother and this guy got together. And the guy was pitching Standard Oil. I said, okay, how much do you need? The guy said, well, what do you want to invest? He reached in his pocket and pulled out $500.
Jeez.
Wow.
Okay, now, did they both have the last name Nelson? Was that their birth name or?
It seems to me it was Nielsen,
Yeah,
and they changed it to Nelson.
both of them changed it to
I
Nelson?
think so when they came to the U.S.
So do we know what his mom's maiden name was?
I don't think we
And that's why I want to talk to Freddie about some of this. And then the other, so how, do you know how long they were on the train? Those two boys?
No.
No.
Oh, he tells really,
And it wasn't a passenger train, right? It was a run and jump on the train and go in the car.
in those days they were both.
Oh.
They had passenger cars and the other cars
But
behind.
he came from,
Well,
he came from the east,
well, what I'm thinking is they're runaways.
yeah.
And so he probably didn't get to ride on the passenger car. I would think he was with the train hobos
Yeah.
coming across.
So they came from the east?
Yeah, because they were speaking French.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, near New York.
So
That
it's
part
just
is-
amazing we even ended up in Spokane. Because we could have been
Yeah.
clear over on the East Coast. Yeah. And do you know how we met Grandma Gigi?
I think it was at a dance. If I remember Grandma saying so.
Oh,
Could be.
She was at Deshane.
yeah. And there was a Deshane down in Clarkston, right?
It had a big boat.
Yes, that marina down there, the Shane Marina.
Uh huh.
Grandpa financed.
Oh,
That was,
Grandma's nephew.
I think it was a nephew.
huh. Okay.
So her family was from Spokane. She wasn't from Canada.
Well, Spokane area, like Liberty Lake, which is
Okay.
out, not in the
But
town.
I always
city.
thought they were both from Canada. I didn't realize that she.
Well, what I think is interesting is that your dad, so we're talking about Grandma Frankie's mom and dad, right? Okay, now switch to dad's mom and dad. And Grandpa Pete's mom lived in Spokane, out in the valley.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like in Thornton and somewhere, and then they had they had Bybee and Audie and Pete and another girl,
I think there were 7 kids.
and a bunch of them died. And then, so one girl died when she was a teenager from scarlet fever or something like that. I have it written down. And then the other girl died falling in the ice and then getting sick and dying. And the little one was buried there and all the records, the courthouse burnt down, so there was no records of it. And then later on, Annie Colleen argued with everybody about whether that was true or not, and we can't find any record of it because there's no records. So I want to go to that cemetery and look and see if that baby's grave is there. The teenage girl, we know she was really alive. And then Audie and Bybee, huh?
Which cemetery?
It's like by Thornton or what, on the way to Spokane. It's that
And
up on the left.
Royals, right? Her
Yes.
last name would have been Royals.
Yes, yeah. No, oh.
Grandpa Pete's?
Yeah.
yeah, right. No, it's Grandpa Pete's.
Yeah.
Yeah, her last name would have been Royals. It's Grandpa Pete's family. And so Audie and Bybee and Pete survived. And Bybee is the one that ended up in California. And she made costumes and fancy clothes for the stars in Hollywood. And then Audie is Julie Ray's mom. And then Pete. And those two girls were way older than Pete.
Okay, now that's, Audie wasn't Julie's mom.
Well, that's what Pauline said.
Bybee is Julie's.
Oh, you're right. In California. Yes, you're right. Yep, I got that wrong. Yep. Yeah.
And
So,
Julie doesn't have any siblings, right? Julie Ray?
No,
She's
she-
the only child.
and so Bybee was Julie's mom. Audie had a daughter who was almost Julie's age, who got addicted to drugs and died, and was one of Julie. They were very, very, very close. And Julie still cries when she talks about her. And she got married, that other girl, what was her name?
Arlene.
Arlene. She got married to somebody and they didn't like the husband. He didn't treat her right, and she was dead for some days before they even found her.
Oh.
Yeah.
How old was she?
Like in her 20s.
So
20s.
this would have been back in the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I remember my cousin Bonnie.
Bonnie is her name. It wasn't Arlene, it was Bonnie.
For her graduation, her dad bought her a brand new 65.
Wow.
So Arlene is her sister.
Mustang.
So was it Bonnie and Arlene? And they were sisters, and Bonnie's the one that died.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Arlene took us to Spokane and found the house that her
Grandma Broyles. And I have pictures of her. She had a dog named what was her dog's name? And it, oh, I've got it all written down in my notes. But she had dogs and chickens
Oh,
in Spokane.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. Yep.
She's
See,
great.
my grandma Broyles came from this little town outside of Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say Rosalie.
No,
Oh,
no. It's Thornton or something. It's right in there. Yeah.
Okay, now, her husband was the Broyles. He worked for the railroad as a engineer, not running a train, but laying out where the tracks go, and all that.
Oh, okay.
He graduated from WSC. It was WSC before it was
Huh. Huh.
So that's where Pete gets his spurts from. It is, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just interesting to me how Grandma Frankie's family and Grandpa Pete's family were all in the Spokane area. Yeah. And then, so Pete used to terrorize his sisters when their boyfriends were there. And when Grandma Frankie came, and they were all really close, the sisters and the brother were really close. Grandma Frankie came into the picture and she kind of swooped him away from his family. And the girls were resentful because they didn't have their brother around so much anymore.
Took their Pete away.
Yeah, took their Petey. Can you imagine if someone took our Petey away?
Well, that ain't happening.
No. Yeah.
when Audie moved to California, which was about 1948. Her husband went to California to start Olympia beer sales. And he had all the Olympia beer distribution in Southern California. Now he's the one, he got real sick and died. It was probably cancer, right?
I got to meet her once. She's really nice guy.
And then Bibby's husband died, and she never had another relationship. She
No.
didn't ever hook up with anybody
And
ever.
Bybee was the one that made the costume.
Yeah, and Julie Ray's mom. Mm-hmm.
And we all thought it was funny because Grandma Frankie married a Mark Howard
Uh-huh.
and Bobby married Howard Mark.
Oh, that's right.
So Julie Ray grew up in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I took a bunch of pictures of some fancy dresses that Julie Ray has that her mom had made for different things. They're beautiful. And she's the one that made that quilt that I have for the guest room thing. Yeah. Quite the seamstress.
I never did see the dresses.
Oh, I've got pictures, so I'll have to show them to you. Yeah, I want to get with Freddie though and see what she knows about Grandpa Gigi's story, because I bet she knows the same and more and could add to all this.
Yeah, I should write her. If I email her, she'll answer.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Well, just tell her I'm wanting to
And,
write
they live in New York,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, and Seattle.
Vashon Island, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's one of the
They bought-
fancies, yeah.
They bought a couple places.
Yeah. But I thought they sold their place in Pennsylvania.
They might have.
The last we heard from her, she said we're living in Seattle now.
Uh-huh. And I went to her apartment in Soho. It was really cool. She had this, I mean, she was painting picture in there was her paint art studio.
Wow.
And the painting she was working on was clear up to the top of that window and down. It was like that whole area. It was huge.
How old is she now?
She and I are about the same age.
Okay, and what about her daughter Lisa? Where is she at?
I don't know where Lisa is.
She, the last time she was in Seattle area.
Okay.
She's a nurse, isn't she?
Didn't we go see them over there? And weren't they on Mercer Island?
Oh, Mercer Island, that, you're right, that's it,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah,
We could, I know it's only 13 minutes over there, but do you want to start loading in the car?
let's,
It's Friday. Might take us a little while.
I think we should wait till a quarter after, otherwise
Okay.
we're gonna be,
Okay.
because we're not gonna have the extra wheelchair.
Okay. Nothing.